Everyone. Welcome to the very first NParks City in Nature webinar. So lovely to have all of you joining us today on a Saturday morning. My name is Wayne, and I'll be happy to host you for today's webinar, actually. We have a video on City in Nature, which you can access through the QR code here. So this video showcases the initiatives that NParks has put in place to steer Singapore towards our City in Nature vision. All right, so you can watch it anytime you want to. You can go to our YouTube as well to check it out. So again, today's webinar is on our green spaces for the future. And as we work towards building a city in nature in Singapore, we hope to restore nature into the urban environment and bring recreational opportunities closer to all of you, right? So recent surveys have shown that parks have become important places of respite amidst the stresses and dramas of urban living and the ongoing pandemic that we are in. For today's webinar, we have my colleague, Mr. Ong Chong Ren from Jurong Lake Gardens, who will be sharing with you how we are developing parks for the future. We also have a guest speaker, an avid park user, Ms. Sheryl Lee, who will also be sharing her experiences being in nature. So if you're unable to hear any sound, for those of you who doesn't have any sound there, please check your audio settings or log out and in again. Your microphones will all be on mute throughout the webinar. And if you have any technical difficulties, please send a private chat message to Ishuan, Sauchi, or Shamin. They're our tech support team for today. Yep, so use the Zoom chat message to get to them. Cool. So this is the program rundown for the next hour. We're going to do a very quick audience poll, followed by the main event, sharing by my colleague Chong Ren, and then we have our guest speaker Sheryl Lee, and at the end we will have a quick feedback survey for you to do, to help us to improve our future webinar. So if I can get everyone to take out your phones as well, or you're using a desktop or laptop, you can key in menti.com. We're going to do a very quick audience poll and key in the numbers 11949611. For those who are using your mobile phones, you can scan the QR code, and my tech support team will also copy and paste the link in the chat. So maybe we give everyone about 30 seconds to do this. It's very important for us to know how you guys are feeling today through the poll. So if you need to, Chong Ren may be breaking into a song later. I don't know, perhaps. All right. So I'm guessing everyone should have no issues scanning things now. So the QR code should be quite quick. I'm going to change my screen for a bit to the audience poll. Good. I see the hearts are all coming out already. Cool. So I can see that you guys are ready. For those who are viewing from YouTube, there may be some lag as well, so I apologize for that. Maybe when you guys are doing the first question, I'm already at the second question. Well, nothing much that we can do. All right, maybe I can start the poll once we hit about maybe 35 hearts, perhaps. I'm looking at 26 here. Yeah. Cool. Okay, I'm going to start the poll. So the first one is, how are you feeling today? It's a Saturday morning. Oh, someone is excited. Cool. Sleepy. Hello, it's 10 a.m. If there are more sleepy heads coming out, children might really have to sing, I think. Oh, nice to see happy faces. Cool. Yeah, maybe we give another 30 seconds for everyone to tell us how you're feeling on a Saturday morning, listening to a NParks webinar on City in Nature. Nature is supposed to make us happy, actually. Sleepy sometimes. Yeah, I do agree. Cool. Yeah, most people are happy. Happy to know that you're happy. Okay. I'll go to the next question once we hit about 35 responses, perhaps. All right. Most of us are in the happy spectrum. Okay, good to know. I'll move on to the next question, yeah? So this is a scale of based on the statement that I have a good understanding of what City in Nature is about. So on one end, we have no idea at all. The other end, we have able to write a speech on city in nature. If you are at that end, we want to hire you. All right, about 3-ish, about average, okay. The scale is not tipping much. So everybody's a little bit, yeah, I know a bit. I don't know a bit. Good, good. I think today will be very useful. This webinar will give us a better idea on what city in nature is about and what NParks is actually doing in reaching that vision of city in nature. Okay, about 3.2. All right, all right. Thanks for letting us know. All right, I'm going to move on to the next question. Maybe we hit 50 responses. I have at 45 right now. Yeah, 5 more people tell us what scale of the spectrum are you at? How good do you understand city and nature? How well do you understand city and nature? All right, about 3.2. Okay. So Chong Ren don't really need to break it down to the basics as well, or don't have to go too technical as well. All right, the next question. All right, so this will take a bit of your time to rank the reasons to not visit parks, park connectors, or nature reserves. So try and rank it for us. Some people may think it's the weather. Some people do not like insects. So just try to rank it as many factors as possible, and you'll take some time for the rank to show on screen as well. Oh, it's coming fast. All right, weather. Number one. That's always number one. The things that we can't control are the things that we are always frustrated with. No time? Oh no. Yeah, I like the rank for too far. It's like number 3 right now. Hence, that's why we're bringing parks closer to you. Hey, hey. Too crowded. Yeah, I mean, ever since the pandemic hit us, we do see that more and more visitors come to our parks and nature reserves. I think it is really one of the best places to seek respite, to cool off, to chill out. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you so much. Yep. We'll wait for the last 2 responses to come in, and then before I move on, whether man, what can we do? What can we do, Chongwen? What can we do? Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question. Thanks so much for all your answers. This is good to know. I feel that being close to nature should be part of my daily life. So this is a scale-based poll again. So on one end is I must stay away from nature, no nature. The other end of the scale is nature and I are inseparable. Nature and I are one. We are one entity. I bring my plant with me everywhere I go. Oh, it's pretty high, 4.6. Okay. All the nature lovers are here. Good, good, good. Those who must stay away from nature probably are those who rank insects number 1 just now. Or allergy to pollen. Sounds like somebody I know. All right, about 4.3. Okay, so we're all pretty much nature lovers here. Cool. I'm going to move on to the next question. What sort of activities or events organized by NParks have you participated in? I think you can click all 7 if you've been to all our events, actually. You can just click 1 as well. Just let us know. I mean, NParks, we do organize a lot of events and activities, especially before COVID. But during COVID, we are also doing a lot of things. So we do a lot of webinars and, virtual guides and stuff like that. Concerts in the park. Yeah, I do miss concerts. So my team run concerts, right? I miss those days, really. Oh, so many people love concerts. I'm so happy. Oh, nature guided tours are pretty high as well. Okay. Pet related events. I'm guessing that's Pets Day Out. Woohoo! Gardening, yeah, popular. Volunteer programs. Thanks for volunteering with NParks. Appreciate the effort. Oh, concerts is still number one. Okay, we gotta do concerts. I'm gonna tell my boss this. We have to do concerts in 2022. Thanks. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next question. Okay, I hear you. Concerts, it is. Okay, I think this should be the last one. Just in one word, describe what you're looking forward to from today's webinar. Just one word, anything. Nothing obscene, sorry. But yeah. Knowledge. Knowledge is power. You'll feel powerful after today. Surprise me, that's 2 words. If Chong Ren sings, we'll all be surprised actually. Yeah, I would. Sites, yeah, through photos. I think you'll see a lot of nice photos later, especially from Cheryl's presentation. More parks ideas, learn, enjoy plants, or humor. Humor, Chong Ren, is your alley. Oh, nice. Thanks for all the things that you want to find out about today, what you want to achieve today from today's webinar. Excitement, okay. I see knowledge. I think the font size means a lot of people are saying the same thing. I don't know. Knowledge conservation and nature is always the biggest fonts. Okay, cool. Thanks so much for all your responses. I think we have a rough idea on who's our audience today. So let me move back to my slides in a bit. Keep it coming because these are all recorded. It'll be useful for us as well to learn. Okay, so I'm back to my slides, I hope. Right, so I'm going to move on to the next segment. This is the main show right now. So for today's webinar, again, I'm going to introduce my colleague, Mr. Ong Chong Ren, who's the Center Director for Sustainability and Living Lab, as well as the Deputy Director for Jurong Lake Gardens Development, busy man. He's going to take us through the main sharing today. So I'm going to hand the time over to Chong Ren. Take it away. I'm going to pass control to you, Chong Ren. And anytime you're ready.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks to all of you for joining us for the very first installment of our City in Nature conversation series, which is on our green spaces for the future. Just to start off with a bit of an introduction, my name is Chong Ren, and I'm part of the development team at Jurong Lake Gardens. At the same time, I also look after sustainability and technology-related projects. So this morning, what we really want to do is to share with you some of our plans in shaping the future of our green spaces. And we'd also like to invite you to be part of this journey together with us. So just a bit of an outline of what we are covering today. Firstly, we'll share with you some of our findings on how and why people come to our parks and gardens, following which I'll cover how we translate this feedback into strategies to develop and improve our green spaces. And finally, I'll end off by going through how all of you can be involved as part of this process to shape the future of our green spaces together. So you might have heard a little bit about how Singapore is going to transform into a city in nature over the next decade to provide Singaporeans with a better quality of life while also coexisting with our flora and fauna. And we are going to do this in 4 key moves. These are extending our natural capital, intensifying nature in gardens and parks, restoring nature into the urban landscape, and strengthening connectivity between Singapore's green spaces. But very importantly, we are not going to do this just on our own, but rather everyone will have a role to play in this vision. So we have identified 4 aspirations for our parks and green spaces moving forward, which are essentially that every home will have a park or garden within a 10-minute walk away. Secondly, we want to have recreational options that meet a range of different lifestyle needs. And thirdly, we want to have a city in nature that's a haven for our flora and fauna. And finally, we want our parks and gardens to be sustainable, smart, and also pandemic ready. So for this Green Spaces for the Future conversation stream, we want to seek your inputs on how we can achieve these aims. And this will then contribute to our bigger city in nature vision. So this slide shows some of the results from a park usage satisfaction survey conducted in 2020, consisting of over 1,500 randomly selected participants. And essentially what it shows is that park usage has been increasing year by year from 2007 till 2020, and has also continued to increase despite the COVID pandemic. And among the surveyed park users, user satisfaction is very high, almost always above 90% satisfied. The survey then delves further on how the park users can use our green spaces. And what we discover is that most people come to our parks and gardens to relax, to experience nature, exercise, and also to socialize and bond with friends and family. So we further distilled the feedback from the surveys and have identified 3 key takeaways, essentially that accessibility and connectivity are very important, and that the park connected network is frequently used to serve as conduits between green spaces. Secondly, nature and biodiversity are important, and this is reflected by the significant increase in visitors to our nature parks to enjoy nature and biodiversity. And thirdly, staying connected for social resilience. So people feel that parks and gardens play a key role in the mental well-being of people. So from the results of the survey, we then translated the takeaways into 3 strategies that we aim to work on further for all of our future green spaces, whether they are urban parks, park connectors, nature reserves, or national gardens. And the 3 strategies are as follows. Firstly, we want to bring parks closer to you. And in so doing, secondly, we want to bring nature closer to you as well. And thirdly, we want to find ways to bring communities closer through our green spaces. So I'll now touch on our first strategy, which is bringing parks closer to you. Firstly, through enhancing island-wide connectivity, and secondly, by developing new parks and rejuvenating existing parks for better recreational opportunities. So I'm sure all of you are familiar with our park connector network. And today we have over 300 kilometers of park connectors. So we have 5 curated park connector loops, each of which takes you through very distinctive and iconic experiences. For example, the Eastern Coastal Loop takes you past beaches and mangroves along our eastern coastline. Our Central Urban Loop brings you through iconic HDB estates in our heartlands. And our Western Adventure Loop takes you through lush greenery and nature reserves rich in biodiversity. However, by 2030, we plan to extend our park connector network further to 500 kilometers, bringing green spaces ever closer to your doorstep. We are also in the process of developing our Round Island route. Upon completion, it will be a continuous 150 kilometers loop around the island, connecting Singaporeans to various natural, cultural, historical, and also recreational sites. So the first phase of the Round Island route will connect Rowers Bay in the north, passing along the coastline at Punggol, Pasir Ris, Changi, and East Coast Park in the east, linking all the way to the Singapore River and beyond. And progressively, we will also be carrying out enhancement works along this stretch, including new facilities to look forward to, such as shelters, boardwalks, and bridges to enhance the cycling and recreational experience along the coast. And in addition to the park connectors and Round Island routes, we are also in the process of developing a series of curated recreational corridors that traverse across the island, such as the Rail Corridor, which you might have heard of, the Central and Eastern corridors, as well as the Coast to Coast Trail. So the first of these recreational routes is the Rail Corridor, which is a 24-kilometer stretch of a former railway line stretching from the north to the south of Singapore. And along the way, you will get to experience nature and biodiversity at Rifle Range Nature Park and learn more about history and heritage as you pass by the old Bukit Timah railway station. And by the end of next year, the entire corridor will be completed, providing an extensive walking and cycling experience from Woodlands all the way down to Tanjong Pagar. Next, we are also working with LTA and URA for the new Central Corridor, which will be a 34-kilometer route running along the future North-South Expressway, passing by Bishan Ang Mo Kio Park and bringing people all the way down into the city center. We are also planning an Eastern Corridor that will provide 18 kilometers of walking and cycling routes, taking visitors to popular beaches at East Coast and Pasir Ris, passing alongside scenic waterways and also Bedok Reservoir along the way. Next, we have the coast-to-coast trails, which are trekking routes. So the coast-to-coast trail Central has been completed, and this is a 36-kilometer trail stretching across nature areas, parks and park connectors from Jurong Lake Gardens in the west to Coney Island Park in the northeast. And visitors can also explore the trail using the Coast-to-Coast online trail guide or using the Coast-to-Coast mobile app. And in addition to the Coast-to-Coast Central Trail, we are also planning two more coast-to-coast trails, one in the north and another in the south. So the northern coast-to-coast trail will stretch from Sungai Buloh to Khatib Bongsu Nature Park. And this will be a rustic trail providing an immersive nature experience with access to nature reserves, key mangroves, and also wetland habitats in Singapore. We are also planning the southern coast-to-coast trail from Tuas Promenade to Changi Beach Park, which will pass through a number of culturally significant sites such as the Old Jurong Line and Sports Hub, just to name a few. And finally, by overlaying all of these networks together, our intention is to create a comprehensive green matrix throughout Singapore, allowing all residents to have seamless connectivity to our recreational routes, parks, gardens, and nature reserves. And next, we plan to develop 130 hectares of new parks and redevelop 170 hectares of existing parks by 2026. So some of these areas include Canberra House, Teachers Estate, and Mount Faber Park, as well as the next phase of Jurong Lake Gardens, including the redevelopment of Chinese and Japanese gardens. So the next slide will show a glimpse of the upcoming Canberra House redevelopment at Bukit Canberra. So this will be a video. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I will now continue with our second strategy for green spaces for the future, which is bringing nature closer to you. And we will be doing this through two ways. So the first thing we are doing is to extend our nature park network. So we will be building buffer parks around our central nature reserves and also establishing nature corridors. These complementary habitats are sensitively enhanced so that they remain rustic and forested, and these spaces will buffer against the impact of urban development, relieve visitor pressure from nature reserves, and also improve ecological connectivity between key green nodes. And the second thing we are doing is naturalizing our parks and gardens, and we'll be doing this in three ways. So firstly, we are recreating, restoring, and enhancing habitats in our parks to exemplify our city in nature vision. So some examples of parks and green spaces where we have focused on naturalization efforts include the Rail Corridor Central, where because of its proximity to Bukit Timah Nature Reserve, the landscape is carefully planted with flora that complements the existing vegetation. And we also have examples such as Hampstead Wetland Park, where we have recreated and enhanced a wetland ecosystem by conserving dead tree stumps for birds to perch, as well as habitat islands within the pond. So these are very essential parts of the wetlands ecology, providing birds and other wildlife with shelter, nesting spots, and resting grounds away from human disturbances and predators. Sorry, just taking some time for the screen to change. All right, so give me a second. Apologies for that. So in fact, across many of our recently completed parks and gardens, you can find examples of many different habitats we are recreating, which include woodlands, mangroves, grasslands, and streams. And what we want to do is to create many more of such habitats for our green spaces in the future. So this next slide shows some examples of some of the recently completed landscapes where habitat creation and restoration have been implemented. And essentially in these landscapes, the design of the green spaces draws inspiration from original natural habitats and landforms, which include features such as natural swales, waterways, floodplains, dunes, and the planting styles as well also take reference from forms and patterns in natural habitats. So some examples include the learning forest at the Singapore Botanic Gardens, which replicates tropical forest structure through randomized planting in clusters and also grows of multi-tiered trees. And also at Rasa Walk in Jurong Lake Gardens, the original interface between lake and land has been regraded to create flooded habitats that support very rich shorebird diversity. So secondly, we are also working on supporting native wildlife through our species recovery efforts and also by implementing connections across our fragmented habitats. So an important area that we are working on is to try to mitigate the effect of forest fragmentation by providing ecological linkages. So this allows for movement between animal populations that may have been long separated by our roads and our expressways. So some examples include larger scale crossings such as the Eco-Link at BKE, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen driving past, but also smaller road bridges, for example, along Old Upper Thomson Road. So you might have also noticed some of our species recovery efforts, and one successful example includes the Oriental pied hornbills. So these were very originally close to extinct in Singapore, but after concerted efforts by providing hornbill nesting boxes at Pulau Ubin, today we can see more and more hornbills all over the island. So we are also working on providing nesting spots, for example, for otters, and we've done so at Sengkang Riverside Park. So thirdly, we are also implementing more nature-based activities and programs. So for example, we will have nature play gardens in our green spaces. Essentially, these are some play areas where children can play while immersed in nature to trigger a sense of curiosity, discovery. And these play gardens are usually constructed using natural materials like wood, sand, and gravel. And at the same time, we'll also have more allotment gardens so that the community can cultivate interest in growing your own edibles and experience the benefits to health and well-being that come from gardening. And thirdly, we'll also have more therapeutic gardens. So these are green spaces that use therapeutic principles to facilitate people's interactions with nature, and it also improves the mental well-being of participants, which could be residents of all age groups from nearby estates or care facilities. And of course, climate change is one of the biggest challenges of our time. So flood resilience and water sustainability are very important considerations in the development of park features and attractions. So one way we do this is by using nature-based solutions. So for example, we have features that serve as recreational spaces when the weather is dry, but they can also function as swales and floodplains as part of flood protection measures during wet seasons. So one prominent example is the river plains at Bishan Ang Mo Kio Park, which I'm sure most of you have gone to see. And also similarly at Jurong Lake Gardens, We have also converted an original monsoon canal into a series of meandering braided streams that slow down the speed of surface runoff and also provide habitats for aquatic life. So this takes us to the third strategy in creating green spaces for the future, which is to bring communities closer. So currently, NParks runs various programs and activities for people of all backgrounds, divided into the various categories shown on the slide. And we also have regular signature events such as Rockestra and Parks Festival. So with the pandemic, digital engagement has been more important than ever to reach out to the community. And many of these programs have been converted to hybrid versions, allowing online participation. So for example, signature events such as Gardeners Day Out, Pets Day Out, and concerts have been moved online. And we also continue to engage the community on topics such as conservation, habitat enhancement, gardening, and also responsible pet ownership through webinars, do-it-yourself videos, and also through Facebook and Instagram live sessions. And of course, we also incorporate technology in our efforts to improve visitor experience. So some examples include the Coast to Coast app, which is NParks' first augmented reality AR-enabled mobile application, which was developed to complement the Coast to Coast Trail for an interactive walking experience across the 36-kilometer stretch of parks and park connectors. So the app lets you learn about native biodiversity and also some of the attractions that you can see along the way. And then it also lets you take part in virtual activities as well as to earn points. And of course, we also have digital kiosks in some of our gardens. So these interactive kiosks are placed throughout the gardens to allow visitors to navigate around easily. And also visitors can view attraction information such as operation hours, see photos and descriptions of attractions, and also find out a little bit more about events that are ongoing in the garden. And finally, but most importantly, we want to share with you how all of you can play a part in shaping the future of our green spaces. So currently, NParks is actively building a network of volunteers in a diverse range of activities. And we have volunteers that are involved in nature and heritage guiding, in nature conservation. And we also have volunteers that work with us on habitat enhancement and also horticulture. But in addition to this, we also have the Friends of the Park program. And this is where any of you can be a part of a network of volunteers that are involved in the design, in the building, and subsequently also the running of our parks. So this slide here shows an overview of the engagement process. Essentially, during the engagement, we identify key stakeholders, such as residents like yourselves, as well as interest groups and youth, to co-design and co-create the park. And what we aim to do is to bring together a community of like-minded individuals to co-implement the park. And there will be events such as tree planting, as well as other ground-up initiatives as part of the park development. And finally, once the park construction is complete, we will have a new Friends of the Park network where everyone can be involved in co-managing and also running the park. So before I end off today's presentation, we would like to welcome all of you to be involved in our Friends of the Parks engagements. So please do scan the QR code on the slide to register your interests, and our NParks colleagues will reach out to you. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. I'll now hand the time back to Wayne. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much, Chong Ren. Wow, that's really, really insightful, and I love the presentation. I have friends who tell me that they can't go to the parks or green spaces because they have no time or they think it's too far. And I tell them, say no more. We're going to bring parks closer to you, right? So you have no more excuses. And I love it that because you show us the QR code. Let me go back to the QR code for a bit to get people to join us as well in making this vision come true. So because today is the first NParks City Nature webinar, we're going to do this only one time. This is very exclusive. You guys get an invite to do this with us. So please scan the QR code, join us in making City Nature come true. All right, thanks again, Chong Ren. I think that's really lovely. I'm going to move on now. I think we have our guest speaker is ready. So I'm going to introduce Miss Sheryl Lee. She's a member of our Friends of Park Connector network. She's an avid park user. I think she goes to the park every day, which is cool. She loves exploring Singapore's green spaces. And rumor has it that she previously worked as a tour guide, bringing people on all sorts of adventures in Singapore's wild places. Is it what kind of adventure? I don't want to ask lah, you know. So if you want, you can ask her later, or you know, can chat with her. But I'll hand the time over to Sheryl now. I give you the control, Sheryl. Let me see where you. All
Yep.
right, cool. Anytime. Go ahead.
Cool, awesome. Thanks so much for having me here. And I'm Sheryl, and today I'll be sharing about why I love our parks today and what I hope to see in our parks tomorrow. So firstly, I think since the pandemic, everybody spent a lot of time glued to our screens, right? I mean, for me, there are some days, where I'm just at home and I'm clearing work and I don't even step out of the house. Have you felt the same? So yesterday I felt so trapped. I finally made it to Bishan Ang Mo Kio Park for a run. And it's really near my house, just 10 minutes away. Okay, and look at what greeted me. Look at these stunning sunset skies. And in that moment, I just paused and then I looked up and I felt that nature was saying to me, hey, how wonderful do I have to make these skies so that you finally look at them, huh? Look at this show that I put on for you every evening and enjoy this fleeting sunset because life is short. So soak it in while you're still here. And I think that that's the power of nature, right? It brings us back to the present. It stops us from being so self-absorbed and it reshifts our focus to what's truly important in life. Before COVID-19, I'm sure many of us have traveled overseas and experienced nature in its rawest forms. And in the presence of such beauty, we feel small and we feel deeply alive. Now, I know Singapore doesn't have such grand scenes. But hey, in recent years, I've been finding Singapore's parks equally arresting. Look at this stream running through Bishan Ang Mo Kio Park. It's beautiful, right? And as Chong Ren covered earlier, it's not just a stream. When there are torrential rains and floods, it becomes this natural canal that helps to channel rainwater downstream. So it was basically designed to be like beautiful and functional, and isn't that awesome? NParks is really rewilding Singapore park by park. And as the wilderness returns, it attracts wildlife too. Compared with what parks looked like when I was a child, which were just these green patches with playgrounds, our parks today have leveled up so much. They are wild, beautiful, vibrant, and full of life. Our parks today are just so good at capturing nature's raw beauty. They are so strikingly delightful. They have the ability to stop us midway in our thoughts. They bring us into the present, and we don't even need to go overseas to achieve all that. Now that's priceless. And even more so during a pandemic where we are all trapped in Singapore anyway. So where our world has contracted and closed in around us, our parks remind us that there's a bigger world out there. In our parks, we are joined by our neighbors, trees, otters, birds, monitor lizards, and so on. Being in their company always reminds me that we are not alone and we all share a similar reality, even though everybody is experiencing this reality in vastly different ways. I don't just mean the humans, but the animals too. So birds can fly, mudskippers can actually breathe through their lungs and their gills, and a dragonfly can see the world in ultra multicolored. So on our own bad days, we're reminded that, hey, the world as a whole isn't so bad after all. So if we just look at how a short visit to the park can shift a person's mental state so much, then we begin to see the huge potential of our parks in bringing Singapore society together. Parks can play a huge role in building a more inclusive and loving society. What do I mean? Well, NParks has shared that in 2030, all homes will be a 10-minute walk away from our park. And I hope our parks of tomorrow will be accessible not only in terms of distance, but also to be intentionally inclusive in design so as to welcome all sectors of society. And beyond that, I hope our parks can be complex and rich oases They are inclusive not only to humans, but to wildlife as well. And lastly, I hope our parks can continue to be these great spaces where we can hold educational and social events for people to learn and create memories and build strong bonds within our community. You know what? I would especially love it if more of NParks engagement and community events could be extended to our special needs, disabled, elderly communities with special arrangements made so that everybody can interact together. So we are all nature lovers here, and we have all experienced the power of nature, like great art or music, to move us, make us feel more human, make us feel more empathetic, make us feel more loving. And I think that over the years, NParks has done a wonderful job in making our parks so wild and beautiful. Today's parks are just these magic places where people visiting instantly become like happier, healthier, more loving, more empathetic versions of ourselves. And firstly, let's make sure that tomorrow's parks extend these benefits to all sectors of society. And as we do that, why don't we also tap on this magical mental shift that happens whenever we visit a park? Let tomorrow's parks be inclusive spaces where we regularly interact with and bond with people from all sectors of society. Let tomorrow's parks be wild spaces where we regularly encounter our wildlife, even if it's just from a distance. And let tomorrow's parks basically just be spaces where we can all be encouraged to better love the people around us, better love the creatures around us, and better love nature. Thank you so much.
Nice. Wow, look at the photos. It's really, really beautiful. So Cheryl, what I did yesterday was I took some of the photos actually. I showed showed my friends lah. And then they said, hey, you VTL, you go travel, is it? I said, no, these are all really in Singapore, and they didn't know where are these places. I said, come and watch the webinar today, right? So and they said, the parks are too far. And I said, say no more. We're gonna bring nature closer to you. And that's it. So lovely sharing. Thank you so much, Cheryl. I love the photos really, and I hope you guys do as well. And do explore the places, the green spaces that we have in NParks. Really soak in the scenery, the fresh air. The fun with your family and friends as well. Go in pairs, by the way, right now, and really enjoy. Just enjoy the green spaces, and then join us, friends of the parks, and make this happen together. Okay. Where are we now? I think we're at the end. It's only 10:42. I hope we can share a lot more things with you guys. But if you want to get more updates from us, please join us on our social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, we're on Telegram, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube. We are so cool. We're on TikTok as well. So if you want to take that extra step in making city nature happen, do come and volunteer with us. I assure you it's going to be a fun time. You're going to bond with the people who's volunteering with us as well. They're all very nice people. Nature lovers are nice people, definitely. So do scan these QR codes, check us out, or you can just do a Google search as well. We are everywhere. Greenery is everywhere, and parks is everywhere. We are everywhere, all right? So I think this is really, really the end. I really want to thank all of you for joining us, staying on with us, listening to Chong Ren. Too bad he didn't break into a song. Listening to Cheryl. Cheryl will tell us more about her adventures. Do chat her up on Zoom if you want to, and ask her more questions if you liked. You try, Cheryl, if you want to answer them. But before you go, please scan this QR code. Give us some feedback on the session that you've gone through today. Tell us what you want to hear about in the future. Tell us how we can improve on this webinar as well. We'd love to hear from you. And once again, I hope to see you again. My name is Wayne. We're all from NParks. We love city and nature, and we hope you can join us in making it come true as well. So thank you. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and bye-bye. Let me play some music while you guys, slowly exit the webinar.